Silver Lake. It's written by a lady called Monica Hutchins. It's a beautiful story about life in Sherborne in the 1930s, 40s and 50s. And so you can get it in the library. It's Monica Hutchins, The Romany Cottage in Silver Lake. Okay? I'm just going to read you. She worked, when we first came out, she worked in an office on the upper floor of one of the buildings there, right? I was working and I was dreaming, but my dream was shattered by the drone of many aircraft and the whistle of bombs and the trembling of the buildings. I was petrified and the whole town was rocking, and I recollected myself enough to remember that I'd been told to go over to the Swan. I galloped across the road, but when I got to the archway to the yard, it trembled like jelly above my head. Well, you just walked through it. Yeah? And looked as if it was going to disintegrate upon my head. So I backed out and flung myself down into a clear space in the middle of the road. As I did, there came like a soda siphon whistle of a bomb, and the whole road heaved up and down. All the masonry around me was dancing and jigging, and a trickle of dust then became a deluge of bricks and mortar which had descended on top of me. The storm died away, and I picked myself up, and there was a piece of coal in my pocket. Heaven knows how it got there. And I had a cut on the back of my hand from a tile, and I'd been flung over onto my back, onto the back of my neck, which was really sore. It was dark in the sunlit street. I felt as if I'd never been taken right up to the. I felt as if I'd been taken right up to the gates of death, and then turned back. A man who was only a few feet away from me, who was in the archway, decided just to lay flat. I looked at him, he was laying there dying, and he was taken to the chemist where the man who later became my husband attended him, but he was beyond help. When I saw what high explosives had done to the buildings on either side of me, I marvelled at my own flesh, and that my own flesh was intact. As I had lain in the road, the front of the large furnishing shop had been hurled across the top of me, and on the other side, the building from which I had emerged but a few seconds earlier had been completely wrecked, and the top story where I was had been blown away. About 30 yards away from me was a huge crater with gas and water escaping from the burst mains. The crater stretched from one side of the road to the other, and it was deep enough to hide a double-decker bus. It was not possible to get around it without the risk of falling in. And from the opposite side, there was a very white-faced warden shouting at me, asking if I was all right. I asked him if he knew if the Abbey had been hit, but he didn't answer. He just stared at me and said, "Miss, your life has just been given to you." I think you get a feel of how she writes.
Yeah.
I think that's a lovely little description.